Hello, everyone. I got my internet back, thankfully. I thought, why not just try and teach the lesson at 6 o'clock? I don't know if anyone's going to be online. I don't know if anyone's interested in watching it at this time. But I'm going to do the video and it's going to be available for people to watch afterwards. I've been thinking about this lesson throughout the day and exploring some of the things that I've kind of, been looking into for my own sort of interest recently. And a subject that I think is really important, especially if we're kind of looking at the organization of our legs, is kind of joining up with the rest of the body and how we're organizing all of us. So we don't do any of these things. So we don't have kind of muscular tension or, usage or habits with the legs that don't involve the other parts of the body. So, for example, if your head is very far forward and you're holding a lot of weight in your body, that's going to have an effect on what you're doing with your legs. Likewise, if your head is very far backwards, it's going to do something different with the legs. So the legs are, a reflection of what's going up in the torso as well. So this lesson, what I want to do is just kind of, fun exploration. And the thing that I want to start with is just tilting the head very gently upwards. So this is a movement that's happening right at the base of the skull, right here at the base of the skull, the join between the atlas and the occipital bone. So just do that a few times. And maybe as you do it very gently, just see how comfortable that is for you. Notice how much your jaw is going up in the air as you're doing it. And just slowly close your eyes as you're doing that, taking your head backwards gently. Noticing what's happening in your neck. So one of the teachers that I did a similar lesson with recently, he said, put your hand on the back of your neck here and just feel how the vertebra go forwards, go gently forwards as you take your head backwards. Good. So when I was kind of playing with this myself, I was walking about my flat doing this movement and noticing that you can keep walking. You can keep a relatively comfortable pace. You're not really worried about your feet because you're tracking at the same time as moving your head up and down. You're tracking the sensory information that you're receiving from your feet. This becomes a little bit complicated when you introduce certain aspects to it, and hopefully we'll see that in the lesson. But just for the first few minutes or so, just become familiar with, maybe you could do it just from feeling the jaw move up. Jaw move up and back down, and just have your hand on the back of your neck, moving the jaw up and down. Notice how these cervical vertebrae move forwards as the head tilts backwards. Just do it a couple of times. Good. So this is kind of part of the available head movement to us. Yeah. So we can obviously do this and then do the opposite. Take the head down a few times. Take the chin down towards the chest. Just feel how that feels for you today. Does it feel more habitual than the other? Are you someone that generally has their head quite far back or quite far forward? Just feel that for yourself. Taking your chin a little downwards. Doesn't need to be a big movement. Taking the chin down and back up. And this is just kind of working the whole spine, making the whole spine more mobile, more flexible. Good. Just taking the chin down a few times. And then go all the way through the range of that. The chin down and then the chin up. Chin, maybe I should have called this exercise chin up. Chin down and chin up. So in British culture, and maybe it's in American culture as well, but there's this sense that if something's happened to you and you're hanging your head down, all you need to do is just reorientate your head upright and have your chin up, and that life will look a little better. So maybe that's a good idea for today. So have your head facing forwards now, and have your eyes resting gently on the horizon. Okay. And then very gently begin to slowly lift your heels away from the floor, keeping your eyes on the horizon. Slowly lifting your heels away from the floor. Just really slowly. And if you do it slowly enough, you'll notice that your two heels can't do it at the same speed. That the different muscular habits in both legs will mean that you have to move your heels differently. One is kind of going a little faster, maybe a bit more jumpy. Really keep the eyes on the horizon and just take the heels a few times away from the floor. And if you've started holding your breath while you do that, just see if you can kind of like close your eyes and or you've got your eyes on the horizon. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just bring your attention to your breathing. Good. Okay, and then let the heels rest a second. And a few times, just go back to that movement of tilting the head backwards. And now what I want you to do is incorporate lifting the heels at the same time as taking the head backwards. So the chin's lifting up slightly, and at the same time, the heels are lifting up slightly. And then bringing them both back to the middle. So the middle being the feet resting on the floor and the eyes looking to the horizon. Okay, so bringing them up together and bringing them down together. And just do it. See, can you coordinate this through your whole system? So we're moving like the two furthest apart parts of our body. But is there a sense of coordination through the whole of us that's able to time specifically the lifting of the heel with the lifting of the jaw? And if it is possible for you to coordinate those two things in a timing sense, what's giving you the ability to do that? To be able to listen to those different parts of you and bring them together into a unified action. Good. Okay, and then take a little rest. And now begin to take your jaw downwards and at the same time, lift the toes away from the floor. Take the jaw downwards towards the sternum and lift the toes away from the floor. And again, see if you can time those things together so that the jaw is operating at the same speed, the same amount as the feet lifting from the floor. This is, again, coordinating two very kind of distant parts of ourselves. Do it slowly, see if you can keep breathing. Let your eyes come off the horizon down towards the floor a little, and then come back up to the horizon as you bring the chin back up. So it's like dropping the chin and coming back up. Good. Okay, so take a rest. And so, as I was saying earlier, when I was walking around testing this lesson, I was kind of noticing that there's certain positions of the head that make it difficult for you to do certain things with the feet. And maybe you want to play with it afterwards. So I'm going to try some of them now. All right. So if you tilt your head backwards, and then keep your head tilted backwards comfortably, do a comfortable amount, and then just begin to lift your heels and put your heels down slowly. And this is going to, in some way, a little bit mess with the balance mechanism of the body, because your head is seemingly off balance, yet you're putting your heel down, which is a signal to your body to reorganize itself. So just play with it. Lifting the heels, Maybe you can let the eyes come up slightly if the chin's lifted, lifting the heels very slowly, breathing, bringing them back down. So you could just think of this like an exploration, like a scientific experiment. What happens with the heels as the head is gently tilted backwards? Lift and lower. Good. Do it a few times. And then see if you can extend it. See if you could take the head a little further back as you lift the heels, and then bring the head a little forwards as you drop the heels. A little further back as you lift the heels, and a little further forward as you drop the heels. And just let that kind of the bigger range now. Coordinating this movement of taking the head backwards and bringing the heels away from the floor. So almost like you kind of want to look up to the ceiling. If you want to try that, if it feels comfortable, you could go all the way up and see if you could look at the ceiling and then come all the way down. So it's possible for us to do that. But you have to obviously allow the whole spine to move as you look up. Good. Okay, and take a rest. And then bring your chin down so that your chin is not at the horizon, it's a little further down. And in that position where the chin's a little further down, a few times, keeping the chin down, just lift and lower the feet. Lift and lower the feet. So the front of the feet this time, not the heels. But just keep the chin in the same position and maybe look down. Maybe look down. So one of the things that I was trying, and maybe you can try this afterwards, is if you hang your head really far down and you walk while doing that, then try and walk either on your heels or on your toes. So like tippy toes or back on your heels, and see which one's easier with your head looking at the ground. So you can feel that this is possible. It's easy while your head is down in this position to lift the front of the feet away from the ground. The chin is closer to the sternum, kind of tucked in a little bit, and you're looking down, and the front of the feet are very slowly lifting away from the floor and coming back down to the floor, just a few times. Good. And now keep your chin there, yeah? Keep looking down, but begin to lift the heels. And lift the heels a few times and put them down. Keep your head in this position, lift the heels and put them back down. Slowly breathing. Again, we get a lot of our sensory information regarding balance from this contact with our heels on the floor. So when you've got your head in this position and you're lifting your heels away, how does it feel? Does it feel like you're unstable in some way and that you only regain stability by putting the heels on the floor? Good. And then one time lift the front of the feet and one time lift the heels, and just go between those two, but keep it really nice and slow. Okay, and then bring your head back up to the horizon. Feel your feet on the floor and just feel kind of where your eyes are looking now and how your head is resting on your spine. Good. All right, so then bring your hands and just feel the back of your skull. Take your hands, feel the shape of the back of the skull. Maybe you could even feel the round to the sides and the front. And just feel like how the head is organized, like what's the shape of it? Have you ever taken time to explore the shape of your head? It's kind of like an implicit knowledge. We know it implicitly, but take some time and just feel the shape of your skull. And then keep hold of your skull. And in fact, we could have one hand at the front and one hand at the back. And just a few times, tilt your head backwards, tilt your head forwards. Just do that movement very gently, tilting and tilting. And notice what happens with the weight of your body as you do it. Do you move forwards and backwards? Do you move? So is your pelvis doing something at the same time as I'm tilting my head down, as I'm tilting my head up? I'll let you answer. Good. Just do it a few times. And then as you're doing it, begin to tie in the movement of the heels. So tilting the head forwards, lift the toes. Tilting the head backwards, lift the heels. Just do it a few times. Forwards, tilting the head forwards, the chin towards the sternum, lifting the front of the feet. Tilting the head backwards and lifting the heels. It's like a weird kind of seesaw movement. Take it slowly, keep breathing. And see if you can keep that coordination of the movement of the chin, the speed of the chin with the speed of the heels or the front of the feet. Good. And just swap over hands so you don't get into a habit with your hands. And then do the same thing. But this time, can you, as you tilt your head forwards, lift your heels? And as you tilt your head backwards, lift your toes. Tilt your head forwards, lift your heels. Tilt your head backwards, lift your toes. And this is really kind of like to the edge of our balance. If you're on your toes and you're tilting your head forwards, you're going to fall over forwards. If you're on your heels and you're tilting your head backwards, you're going to fall over backwards. So it's going to provoke this orientation response, but we're doing it in a kind of a nice, organized, relaxed way. Okay. So tilting the head backwards, lifting the toes, tilting the head forwards, lifting the heels. Good. Just do it a few times. And you just do the amount of movement with the head that feels comfortable. The main thing is that you're timing. You're feeling the sense of timing between the movement of your chin up and down, or your head up and down, and your feet up and down. Okay. So I got confused there. So tilting the head down, lifting the heels, tilting the head up, lifting the toes and the front of the feet. Good. And if you've done it a few times slowly, can you coordinate that movement quickly? Tilting, tilting. Good. And then take a rest. And again, just as you sit there now, feel how your head feels organized on your spine. Okay, and then very gently lift up one foot and see if you notice some muscular effort in the head or in the neck or in the spine, some adjustment. Very gently, just lift one foot off the floor very slightly and then put it down. And then try it with the other side. Lift off the other foot and just see kind of, can you feel that all the way up to the head? I definitely can. So as I lift my foot, my head is moving in order to organize me. Okay. So then put both feet down. And then very gently, very slowly begin to lift both heels away from the floor and lift them as high as you can comfortably. And notice if there's any movement in the head or the spine in order to accommodate that movement. It might be really subtle, you might not notice it. But it's like the body begins to organize for action, for function. So this is as if I'm jumping up in the air. Maybe my whole body wants to jump, organize itself for jumping. Okay, just do that a couple more times, lifting the heels. See if there is some movement, even of the jaw up and down in space. Is it there naturally as you lift your heels away? Good. And then rest your heels. And the same thing, as you lift your toes up, the front of your feet away from the floor, as you do that, both feet together, is there some very natural movement, like uncontrolled, kind of organically organized movement, where your head changes its position slightly, the chin changes its height slightly? And is it easier for you to breathe out or breathe in as you lift the front of your feet? Maybe we could do that with the heels as well. Is it easier for you to breathe out or breathe in? Try both. Good. Okay, and then begin to lift the heels and just tilt very gently the head back and bring it back down to the normal position. So as if you, here, let's imagine it like this. So the head starts tilting and that lifts the heels up so that there's a string between the heels and the back of the head. And then the heels drop down and they pull the head back down. Okay. So it's like a string, the head pulls the heels up and then the heels pull the head down. Just see if you can coordinate that movement as if you've got a string between those two places and one is pulling the other and then the opposite. Head's pulling the heels away from the ground and then the heels are pulling the head back down. Good. And now, does it work with the feet as well? Not quite the same. So imagine that you've got a string between your big toes and your chin, and that as you're tilting your chin down and your feet are coming up away from the floor, that string is getting shorter, shortening, both bits of the string coming towards each other. And then as you're bringing them apart, they're both lengthening. Good. Okay, and then just keep the head still. Keep the head still. Just relax. Maybe have your eyes on the horizon. And then just take one foot, the front of the foot away, and take the other foot, the heel away. So one foot, the front of the foot is coming away, and the other foot, the heel is coming away. And see if you can notice any muscular activity in the neck and the throat and the head. Good. And then can you swap over and lift? So I just did the right front of the foot and the left heel. Can you lift then the left front of the foot and the right heel? Just do it again a few times. Noticing kind of, does your body organize for that new position? Does your head organize? Does it change? Even if it's a small amount, can you feel some muscular activity? Good. And then can you go between the two? So lifting one front of the foot and one heel and then the other. And just see, can you keep your eyes on the horizon as you're doing it? Maybe you imagine that you're walking. Good. And now, while you're doing this movement, lifting one front of the foot and one heel and then swapping over and doing the other, can you tilt your head up and down? Can you tilt your head up and down at the same time? Because we're disorganizing one of the things that we've done. We've coordinated something and now we're kind of messing with it. And which foot do you take your head backwards with? And which foot do you take your head forwards with? And can you swap them over? Let's see if I can. Yeah, good. And then just feel how your head's resting. Feel how your feet are resting on the floor. Maybe you could just a few times just lift and lower your heels. Feel whether it's more simple to breathe in or breathe out as you do that. Which part is the in-breath and which part is the out-breath? What makes most sense? Good. And then just feel your feet resting on the floor. Just close your eyes for a second and maybe just move your head about in space. So you could look up and you could look down, or you could take your head to the left and take your head to the right. And just maybe you can feel for yourself that your feet are also listening to your head's position. There's some interrelationship between what's happening in the position of your head and what's happening in the position of your feet. And maybe after the lesson, you can kind of just walk around your flat or your house or outside and just explore this and see, like, can you tilt your head backwards? Can you tilt your head forwards as you're walking? Can you keep your head tilted upwards or downwards in a safe way while you're walking? And is it easy to walk on your heels or walk on your tiptoes while you're doing either of those? So there's a little project for you. You can let me know how you get on in the comments. I will be back tomorrow morning. Hopefully the internet's going to stay pretty stable. It was a UK-wide issue with the service provider, so hopefully that's fixed now. And yeah, I'll be back at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And yeah, we'll teach a nice fun lesson for you guys for the weekend. So I will see you then and have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye.